The areas of leakage there really tend to be just making sure that the office is providing comprehensive care. And so one of the things that I'm super proud of in my current organization, Select, is that
if you happen not to answer your phone, they'll call back. If you do answer your phone and you're not the best on the phone and you don't know how to answer all the questions perfectly, they're still scheduled anyways. If you don't have a lot of availability for them and you put them 2-3 weeks out, they still show up. And then when they come in,
we are going to really dive in and invest the time and the energy to building a best-in-class patient communications, right? We had done some work, a lot of work over the about 2 years, year and a half prior to get that top level into a place that we were all comfortable with up-to-date websites and really strong directory listings across the web. And I think this process has...
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Go. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want. And today, I got a special treat for you. Paul from Select Dental Management, who is the VP of marketing there and oversees a lot of practices. He's going to break down some things for you that I think you're probably not thinking through when you think about your marketing. And he's also going to give us a 4-step structure of how he thinks about the patient journey as they come into your office and where to put your energy so that you can get the best results possible. This was a really, really good episode, and I learned a lot personally. If you're a marketer or if you're interested in growing your practices, I promise this is going to be something that helps you grow. All right, we are live, and I'm excited about this one. I don't normally get too up about podcasts, but I'm really excited about this one because I recently just had Paul on another podcast, and it was one of the shorter ones, and he started riffing on some stuff, and I was like, bro, I got to get you on and let you riff for 30 to 40 minutes. So today's going to be a little bit longer than normal, the way we normally do, but I promise you, you're going to get a lot of value from Paul because I learned so much from him. So Paul, why don't you break down kind of how you are seeing or where you're seeing the most value in dental marketing and how you see it, because you had a very unique perspective that very, very few, if any, marketers really think through the way you do.
Sure. I mean, so I look at my role as I can affect two things to help grow a dental practice, right? And we really can only affect two things, right? Revenue is price times quantity, right? I can affect number of visits. We can affect revenue per visit. And a lot of mix in between. And what I found through my experience is that while there's kind of this general idea that marketing focuses just on new patients, which is a huge part of what we do, I found more success in terms of growth of the practice and the patient experience by really just focusing on the patient journey as a whole and not so much caring that a certain percentage of the visits are all coming from new patients. I want to fill it with the right types of patients the right way. And what I found really successful over the last several years is just making sure that I add value in the kind of tangential support departments within my organization. So a great example is an office might have a backlog of demand and a really healthy flow of new patients. But if they're down a hygienist, we can't serve that patient population or our existing patient population. So is there a way that as the marketing guy, how do I connect with our incredible talent acquisition team? How do I add value? Is it a potential idea of shifting some advertising new patient budget to another bucket? So I think that those sorts of collaborations and, another I give a lot of examples of is I work closely, and I have for many years across many organizations with my front desk teams. When you look at the areas where, there's a real opportunity to have leakage in, the patient funnel. I'll talk a lot about this idea of the leak-resistant patient funnel. I dig it. And it's nothing unique, right? We've been talking like this for years, but it's just where can we plug some of those gaps, right? And the 4 places that I see it a lot are online visibility. So having a solid, easy to use, easy to navigate website and solid directory management to make sure your listings are consistent. People find you in all sorts of different ways. Then the next thing is the phone experience and making sure that front desks are well equipped to handle inflow of new patient calls, especially if there's an advertising campaign out in the market. If not, we work with them on resources like, overflow call scheduling, how to better change the IVRs, and, partner really closely with our operational leadership on, appropriate scripting. We don't want to sell patients things that they don't need, but we want to make sure that we're working to get the patients the answers they need and the care they need right away, right? So,
hey, I got something crazy to share with you, and I'm going to get you right back to the show, I promise. So we have an event called AlignerCon coming up next year, and this month we're giving away a buy one, get one free. We're going to be partnering with ClearCorrect, and this is going to be one of the biggest events that we've ever done in Nashville, Tennessee, in the biggest hotel in America. If you want to come to this, again, we're going to give you a buy one, get one free. We want to meet you in person. Just go to alignercon.com, and we're going to teach you how to create, convert, close, and even some clinical components around clear aligners. So don't miss this event. Go check it out now. Back to the show. What's number three?
Oh,
what's
sorry.
Number 3 and 4?
So
Don't cut me short.
Yeah. So if we're going through it in that order, so number 3 is the in-office experience, right? So, gosh, man, I truly feel like paper forms are probably in their last 5 years. I cannot imagine that we're in an age where you can't get a plastic bag from a retail store, but doctors' offices are printing out thousands of forms a year, right? So I think that that's going away, and I think that as patients start to understand,
it sure hung around a long time though. I thought it was. I said that 5 years ago. I was like, the paper's going away, but it's still everywhere. Yeah.
So we know that that's coming. So like, what is that patient experience though? Are patients still sitting and filling out paper? Do you have that option though? We have some of our practices now have an older population base.
Yep.
They don't want to touch the shared iPad. They don't want to do it on their smartphone. They want to give them the paper and clipboard. So it's making sure that you're catering that patient population. And the areas of leakage there really tend to be just making sure that the office is providing comprehensive care. And so one of the things that I'm super proud of in my current organization, Select, is that we average, I just got the update, 4.84 out of 5 stars on all the review sites across the web for our practices. That's remarkable.
That is.
Makes me feel good because I know that third area of patient experience, we don't have an issue, right? So, but I think that that's one area that is really paramount because the patient experience affects both the patient in the chair, the potential of their family members and friends to be patients.
So just to recap, so you got online visibility, which touches a lot of things. Yep. Phones, and just that initial interaction.
I would say the intake process as a whole, Gary. So one thing that I have not adopted as well as maybe I would have liked to is like really truly integrated online booking, right? It is aspirational at every organization I've been in because every office tends to book differently. Mm-hmm. But boy, the ones that will find a way to get it to work, making sure that you are optimizing that flow if it exists is a huge opportunity. Good example, if you have a book appointment button on your emergency dentistry page, you got to make sure you have emergency appointments available. Just have your hygienist in there. It's not a good patient experience. You're going to find that your patients are actually bouncing it up.
Well, what I've seen is we'll have like an office that's absolutely crushing, getting new patients, everything's working great, and then all of a sudden it stops. It all stops, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what happened? Everything stopped." And we're like, "No, everything's running. The traffic. Wait. Oh, you have no availability on any of your online schedulers." And then patients are going there, even though they weren't using the online scheduler, they were checking for availability. And when it's like, sorry, no availability, they just bounce. And you just lost a day or two of traffic and new patients. And I man, it's painful to see that. So I love that. So online visibility, phones or intake process in office. And then what's number 4?
Retention reactivation, man. My favorite.
Okay.
My favorite. So it's funny. So Gary and I, we were talking after the last one and he made a comment like, it's cool because you're like, you're a good marketer and healthcare. And I'm like, man, I want to be like a really good healthcare guy that just happens to be good at marketing, right? And I think that there needs to be a shift in retail healthcare advertising in general to say when we do the right thing for patient care, the revenue tends to follow. Right. Mm-hmm. And when we do the right things by our patient, by making sure they're receiving fluoride, if they need fluoride, that they're receiving regular imaging, right? That they're getting the care they need, and especially staying in the hygiene. To me, that's the biggest area of loss. I personally have found that it costs anywhere near from 12 to 15 times more to acquire a new patient than it is to just retain and reactivate an existing patient. And when I've done the analysis at several different groups, yes, certainly new patients will tend to spend more their first year. But I bet when most organizations look, it's not as wide of a margin as they might think it is.
Well, the other thing they don't take into consideration is like these patient referrals, right? So patient referrals that are bringing in other patients, if you happen not to answer your phone, they'll call back. If you do answer your phone and you're not the best on the phone and you don't know how to answer all their questions perfectly, they're still scheduled anyways. If you don't have a lot of availability for them and you put them 2-3 weeks out, they still show up. And then when they come in, they actually accept all the treatment that you recommend because someone else has done the selling. Marketing, none of those things are true. Marketing, I always tell people, patients are the worst kind of patients because if you don't answer, they don't call back. They call the next office. If you do answer and you don't know how to answer their questions, they're not scheduling. If you put them 2-3 weeks out, they're no showing. And then when they come in, you have to slow down, earn their trust, and get that treatment on the books. And so it's much harder. So I always look at it and always think like every patient referral is probably worth 2.5 marketing new patients, somewhere in there when you break down all the conversions. So when you really start to factor that in, it makes a huge difference. But here's the problem. And this is what we kind of talked about last time, but we didn't get to really go deep into it, is that no doctor has ever gone to their marketing person and said, man, I really want you to help me with my retention and reactivations, right? Like that's not fun. That's not sexy. That's not the hot thing. It's like, I want more new patients right now. But to be honest, and maybe the reason why is reactivation and retention is a clinical operational problem, right? Like you're not fully optimized there yet. So help me understand that.
All right. I'm going to argue 2 points there, Gary. One, I'm going to say remarketing and reactivation is fun. I will tell you that we finally got, through a partnership with Nextel, the ability to really have enterprise level mass patient email.
That's cool.
And the results we're seeing from that are very strong. There is a clearly through open rates, we have trust in our patients' inboxes, right? We're seeing that through the open rates, and we're seeing a much higher rate of people scheduling and open the email versus those that don't, right? So
what are you sending?
I would argue
existing
that
patients?
when you look at ROI like that, it's very fun.
100%. It's easier too. That's so much easier. That's so much easier what you just explained. Like sending an email through a piece of software once or twice a month or whatever you're doing. That's so much easier than answering the phone, doing this, doing that, getting your schedule, get your website, get your listings.
You've already done the hard work. That's kind of what. So when I go in and I talk with doctors about advertising and I talk through my leak resistant funnel, it's never, I don't want to do advertising. I like being creative. I like doing advertising campaigns. But what I want to ensure for both of us as the partnership that is that we understand what it takes to be successful. And it doesn't mean we have to fix the entire funnel before we go live. Let's do both things at the same time, right? The other thing that but I guess back to the point though, when I look at just, doc, here's our cost for a reactivation platform or program or third-party service, right? And the revenue that it's bringing back. It's a higher number than spending in year one, at least in the first 12 months, than, working with an awesome digital ad agency that can deliver new patients consistently at, $250, cost per patient. Like, that's cool. And I said it's the last time too. I think that there has been such an investment in the talent and the training of digital marketing for a whole lot of what I would consider like direct response consumable stuff, healthcare kind of being one of them, that it's like, it's almost done it to the point where it's a commodity, right? Yep. There are a whole lot of people that can do really, really good front end marketing. And I think that when I talk to doctors, generally my dialogue is more, we're going to do the reactivation piece because it's low cost, low exposure, the right thing to do. We can agree upon that, right? Everybody. we're going to work on making sure the phones are good, because that's a collaborative effort between, the office and so we can partner on that. What I'm going to do is the marketing guy to make sure that your website converts, right? That we have good, fresh content on that website, providing value to our patients. And then, we all got to just come together with patient experience. And that's how I found approaching it. And look, if part of that is advertising, so we're driving the top of the funnel, let's do it. I'm not scared. There's a lot of people that can help us.
But if you have a hole in the bottom of the bucket, you're wasting your time. So it's the way I think about it is like, we have a goal. We want to get the water from the lake up into this hole that we built up over here. That's our goal. And it's like, great. What are the tools that we can use? Well, we got these buckets. And if you have 20 holes in each of the buckets, you're just wasting your time trying to carry water up there, because it's just going to roll right back down the hill. So you have to close those holes in the bucket first. I totally agree with that. Now, one of the things that you said, though, is that you've been seeing some great success with email marketing through Next Health. I would love to pick your brain on that if you're okay with that. Like what exactly are you sending out? Is it just as simple as like, hey, pulling a list of people who don't have treatment or have open treatment that haven't accepted yet, and you are doing something around that? Or like, what are you doing? Yeah,
it's, it's always been for me, we look at, what is it? Boulder, rock, pebble, sand, whatever the analogy is, right? For me, for our patient relationship management process is 95% the same for all of our practices. There's a generally accepted cadence for things like reminders, appointment reminders. There is a generally accepted, more aggressive cadence than I've worked with in the past on recall reminders. But what we're able to finally get our hands on is some of the data of the behaviors of the people opening the emails, right? So we can tell just very simply, this person opened the email and they subsequently booked an appointment, right? And then these ones didn't. So for me, that's really exciting, because I'm able to put a realistic value on the delta. I'm not saying everyone who opened it, who then booked an appointment is converted. And I'm also not relying strictly on like an online booking mechanism to capture that data as well. We're just making smart assumptions here. The lift of the people that opened versus those that didn't was X. We're going to call that delta our return on investment. And what it's done is it's done a few things. One, there's the obvious pulse that an office feels when a mass email is sent out to 2,000 or 3,000 of their patients, right?
And 50 to 100 people all of a sudden book really, really quickly, right?
Yeah. So immediate impact felt. And don't get me wrong, there will be a point of diminishing return on. I mean, to your point, 1 or 2 a month. I'm more along the lines, I think we can get away with 2 to 3, right? Every 10 days or so is where I think the cadence will end up. But don't get me wrong, our front desk, they deal with some of the challenges of the patients that, don't want to be communicated as much. And so part of the successful communication strategy for this is making sure that, your staff are trained on, how can the patient control their communication settings, what can they control, what can't they control, and then making sure that different offices have different patient populations who prefer to receive messages differently. And that's the 5% that's different, where we say, hey, if this isn't the right message for you at this time, we're not going to do it. If we need to alter it, we can. But, that's been what we've been successful with. Now, from a content standpoint, it's just educating them on the conversation that, we would be having in the office with them anyway, right? So we've had stuff about fluoride. I've done a couple of promotional emails on teeth whitening, end of year benefits, which, by the way, though, there's lots of ways to position it where it doesn't just have to be in network benefits.
Yeah. What that is for the audience listening, just to break this down in a simpler way, you're doing a really good job of it. But all you have to do is think about what questions your patients are going to have and what your answers to those questions are, right? Or if the patient was sitting in the chair and told you, I'm probably going to skip my next hygiene appointment, what would you say to them? right? And you're going to be like, well, here's the bad things that are going to happen. Boom, boom, boom. And if you just come, I know it's $60 or $100 or whatever, but this is the good things that are going to happen. It's reverse engineering the sales process. I know we don't call it sales in dentistry, but you take the questions and the comments in the sales process in the chair, and then you turn that into content and you give it to the people, and then people respond to it because it works. It works in the chair, so it works in email.
That's how I approach a lot of our web content too, Gary, is, you know, Google's made it pretty clear, right, that they want to support a good end user experience. They go to Google to ask questions. That's why they call them queries, I think, anyway, right? I'll remember growing up with like the search engine, you ask G's, and you ask G's questions, right?
Yeah.
So I make sure that we sometimes, even in my like heading tags, like I'll put like, you know, what to expect at your root canal consultation, you know, because that's what people are searching for. We'll look through AdWords keyword reports, which is a great source of data. Search Console is a source of data, maybe not as good as the Google Ad source of data, but you know there are ways to get some insights into what people are searching for, and that's just it. Like our organization they're healthcare providers, right? Yep. That's the main focus, is to provide our communities care and provide access to remarkable care. We feel like we do a really good job of that, and for me, it's healthcare is scary. We know that fear is the number one reason that people don't go to the dentist after cost, right? And I just feel like that's one area that I can help affect change on, right? And that marketing can help affect change on. It's like, to your point, like there's no sales in dentistry. I would say that there are a lot of practices that do position it that way.
Yeah.
And that's certainly one way to do it, because price and that sort of stuff is a motivator. But I found for the type of practices that I'm working with now, if we just focus on being the trusted authority that is consistent and providing very, very high quality of care. And by the way, we have great reviews. And by the way, you probably heard about us from your friends, right? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of stuff that I think, that's where, and I think it goes back to the original question, where I think like where marketing is going to be successful in multi-location healthcare is by really diving really deep into the patient experience and how to generate that referral, you know, and I think that's right on. And I think I would argue too that there's an opportunity in the market for some cool software to help with referrals, especially because in many states, at least that I operate in, you can't really incentivize referrals.
No, so, actually, that was where my next question was.
Like a platform to help manage that.
I was actually going to ask that. So I was going to ask you about that, because what I've seen work really well, and I've only seen this done manually, is you go into your PMS, which is a bad way to start a conversation, especially around marketing. Go into your PMS and go, who hasn't accepted treatment in the last 60 days? Over $1,000, right? Or over 2,000, whatever. And then you go, okay, these people. So then you pull that list and then you load it up into like a Nexthealth or something like that, or in any email platform. And you go, okay, let's email these folks and let's tell them, hey, we're doing a patient appreciation, or we're doing a training day, and we're going to give X amount of, percentage off, or we're going to do some kind of educational thing, whatever, however you want to position it. And then you do it when you're low months, you do it like in September. So that way you can all of a sudden generate $50,000 or $100,000 really, really quickly from people who already trust you, who already were going to get it done anyways. Yeah. And you're just moving them off the shelf faster in the time that you need them, because you don't, more than likely they're going to wait till January, and you don't really need more patients in January. Is Nexthealth doing that kind of stuff for you, or is that still very much dirt moving back and forth still? Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but I got something that's going to provide some value to you. This segment is called Ask Gary, and we have people who've been sending in their questions, and we're answering them live on the podcast. If you have a question about marketing, you can email us at askgary@smcnational.com, or you can DM us or leave a comment below. So today's question came from Steve, and he asked, why is it so hard to track dental marketing? And this is a great question. And really what the problem is, the core of the problem of why it's so hard to track marketing, is because, first of all, it's brick and mortar. So this is not e-commerce where you can track everything end to end from the click to the person buying the thing in the shopping cart. It's brick and mortar, so that makes it a little bit harder. But what makes it even harder than that is that the information inside of your dental practice PMS, your practice management software, is not connected to your marketing. It's disconnected. So what's happening over here in your marketing is not communicating back to your PMS. And when you get the right kind or the wrong kind of patients into your office, that has to be communicated back to your marketing. So very few people have integrations that work that end to end. That's something that we do for most practice management softwares. We do have that ability to do that. But if you don't have those two things communicating automatically, you have to do it manually, which is almost impossible. And that's why it's so hard to track everything in marketing.
It's not quite there yet, right? And if it is, it's not something that I've uncovered the workflow. Certainly, there's automated workflows where we ask for reviews and stuff after our after our appointments, but and I could certainly build one for referrals, but there's not. I think like where I've had challenges tracking it is really trying to understand who are your net promoters. So I do have an understanding, and I can't vouch for this product because I haven't used it yet, but Bird Eye has a referral tool that is able to read information from their NPS surveys and then trigger the referral workflow off of that.
So, I love that.
Hey, everybody's going to fill out everybody's going to get an NPS survey, right? And then to be able to say anybody who's a 9 or a 10, I'm going to send them a subsequent email in 2 weeks, asking for a referral. And then I think, I'm not 100% sure. I think there's also like some downstream way that they track that.
That's really cool. Yeah. And just for the audience, for NPS, because a lot of people in dental don't use NPS. So NPS is Net Promoter Score. And what it is anybody, it asks just a simple question. We've all got them. Wells Fargo does them. Bank of America does them. All the big companies all do it. And they say, it's one question, how likely are you to refer a friend or family to our office? And it's 10 through 1. Anybody who does 8, 9, or 10, they're a net promoter, meaning they're more than likely going to tell people. And if you ask them to tell people, they will. And they're going to be really good at telling people. And then if you're I think it's 9 or 10, and then it's like 7 or 8 is neutral. They're probably not promoting people to you, but they're also not trashing you. And then like 7 or 6 and down are detractors. Like they're telling people you and that they're never going to come. Even if they tell you, no, we love you guys. You're great. Thank you. In real life, they're telling people they hate you and they're never going back there. And so what you're saying is Bird Eye potentially has a tool that does the net promoter score for you and then takes the net promoters and then starts to act on your behalf.
Exactly. You could build a workflow around that for referrals. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
Super cool. Super cool. And I think we need more thinking like that, right? Is how, so for me, my first question, when I wake up every day, I open my computer is how am I adding value to our organization? That can come from adding value to the patient experience. It could be adding value to the employee experience, right? It could be adding value by, shortening workflows, adding value that way, whatever. But for me, I think that almost always, right? Like almost always it's, are we doing the right things for the patients and teams? Right. And I think that if more vendors and partners came with an understanding of where their particular expertise fits in the entire life cycle of the patient journey and just seeing it maybe presented more that way. We were talking before about, the challenge of, building a marketing tech stack in dental and how I'm optimistic that within the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a comprehensive PMS, CRM.
Something that works together. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's coming. We know it's coming. And that's exciting. That's really exciting. And what I would say, to my peers who are, working at emerging groups now is there's a value of standardization, right? And there's a value to being consistent on platforms. Don't let perfect get in the way of better, right? Yeah. So I'll tell you, yes, it's not ideal to be managing out of multiple platforms, but if there's one particular platform that is just crushing it and your offices are leveraging the features, find a way to make sure that that fits into the overall stack. I'll tell you one area where I've been at risk of not being successful, right? A number of times is not identifying sooner when something that I want to do would cause disruption to the practice.
Yeah.
Right. So as much as on paper, this PRM, project makes a ton of sense. We've been working at it since last December, and I have found that, you kind of got to slow walk some of this stuff because they got a million practice leaders, our practice leaders, they have a tremendous role in the success of our practices. They do a ton between just the leadership of the teams and being accountable for their P&Ls and all those sorts of things. It's really, really impressive. And it's challenging when so much of that relies on repetitive workflows that are easily replicable throughout the day. And to say, we're going to change that because it makes sense on paper.
Or
right?
or the one I've seen people do this all the time where it's just like, you're just adding this one thing. And it's like, well, they're already logging into 7 things. Plus they're busy all day with real people standing in front of them, right? They're not like us, like we have meetings, virtual meeting. I know you probably have in-person meetings and stuff too, but they have patients coming in and out all day. And then they have to log into like 12 different platforms and then pull all that information out. It's just like, it gets really, really hard. It gets to the point where it doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been like a real, this project, the PRM project was like a real great experience for me.
What's a PRM? Define PRM for me?
Oh, sorry, patient relationship management. So what happened for us is towards the end of last year, we decided we are going to really dive in and invest the time and the energy to building a best-in-class patient communications program, right? We had done some work, a lot of work over about 2 years, year and a half prior to get that top level into a place that we were all comfortable with, up-to-date websites and really strong directory listings across the web. And I think what this process has kind of taught me is exactly what I had said before. It's like, let's not let perfect get in the way of better. And to understand that, like, there, again, 95 for us, our PRM, our patient communication program, whole thing it's probably 90-95% the same for most of our practices of all the communications that go out there. But just having that flexibility to be able to say, hey, you guys are using this feature of this other program. Awesome. It's a good feature for you. It's working well for you. It's giving patients more access to care. I'm not taking it away. So, and I think just, and being able to talk through and get the buy-in of both, leadership team and the front end of the practice that's doing it and kind of everything in between. It really was like, wow, this is the way that, an organization should be operating. It needs to be totally cross-collaborative because, and I'm sure you've heard the analogy before, like, a dental practice is a living organism, right? It really is, though. And you can't do things in one place without it affecting another. And I've been in dentistry now for just almost 7 years. And that's, I think, the biggest thing the biggest piece of advice I could give to anybody who's doing marketing in an emerging group is try and bottle the expertise of every single other person that's been doing it a long time, because there's a dozen different ways to do it. I mean, we were talking before, like, we'll go into an office, a doc maybe he's been running, whatever, newspaper, periodically for the last several years, and it's worked for them. If it's working, I'm going to see if I can add value, but I'm not here to tear down and rebuild.
It's $500 a month. It's in the little local newspaper. They're getting 30, 40 new patients a month from it. It's like, oh, you're paying about $1 to $10 per patient. Like, let's keep running that.
You know, I had, you know, fights earlier in my career with docs about doing some of the local stuff. And it never has panned out for me. It's never panned out well for me, man. The docs know what they're doing, right? They know what they're doing. They built, especially to, I'll give, you know, this piece of advice too for people in the emerging groups, right? The docs really do. They have a great sense of how to build a successful practice. Right?
Yeah.
And the more you can partner with them and be collaborative and understand their experiences and how they understand their patient base and where they see opportunities, and then saying, okay, cool. Like, this is what I've done in the past. And you come back and you say, here's what I'm going to offer for you. Can we come to consensus? Right. And that collaboration, and then being able to work with our ops teams and our clinical teams on delivering to those plans. That's where I think it's, you know, where it's the most successful.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I love this. And I love that you called it PRM. And just for the rest of the folks out there, everywhere else, like I'll go use me as an example. We use HubSpot. So it's a CRM, customer relationship management software. And it's really cool. Like, we can go in, if someone goes in and reads a blog of ours and then clicks on our website and then fills out a form or doesn't fill out a form, like, we can see all that. Like, we can see everything that all of the people who interact with us in any kind of way, we can see everything, how they found us, how they got to us, how they scheduled the demo, when they scheduled the demo. Like, it's really, really, really cool. We're just not there yet in dental, right? So it's like, well, what's the infant stages of that? Well, how do we communicate with these people directly and give them what they want? And that's like, even what you're saying right now, like enterprise email, like actually being able to see what your existing patients are able to do. It's huge. It's so huge. Yep. And then there's the next step of like, okay, well, how do we segment these people? How do we then, do the next thing? And then what I'm really excited about, and I think it's going to be here in the next 6 months, maybe a year, is automating all this. Like, cause all of it can be automated. So in HubSpot, we can go in and say, hey, we've noticed that if a dentist clicks this and lands here, that 80% of the time they're going to schedule an appointment or a demo, or want to talk to us. And then we can just automate that workflow where it's like, yes, we want that every single time. We want this communication to happen this way. And you can do the same thing for dental. It's just, unfortunately, because of the practice management softwares, you can't get that end result. So you don't know who's ending as an end result or not, right?
All the HIPAA compliance challenges too. I mean, there's not a CRM vendor out there, as far as I know, right, that is totally up to task and also able to tie in to the practice management software. That's the gap, right? And I think there was a time where one of the groups I was with, we were on Open Down, and I was like, okay, right, it's open. We have to be able to build a Salesforce instance with this, right? And I did about 45 minutes of actual due diligence before I was like, oh, this is a 6-figure bill.
Oh, no. You're not. No. Yeah. It's $1 million to build a CRM in Salesforce. I know multiple groups that have done it. Some successfully, some not successfully, because Salesforce is amazing. And the thing that makes it amazing, you can do whatever you want. But the thing that makes it really stink is that you can do whatever you want. And you end up building something that doesn't, you build this thing that has to be maintained by developers at hundreds of dollars per hour. And it's like, wait, we built all this to email the pay. Like, you can get, I've seen people get,
I'm with you.
It's really interesting. So this has been really, really good. Any last piece? I just wanted to pick your brain. Like, that literally, I just wanted to hop on a call and just kind of pick through how you do this. Any last pieces of advice for people out there? The marketing manager, whether it's a doctor, the hygienist, or somebody who's like yourself, who's like, I am the marketing manager of these practices. What advice would you give them just from your years of experience of being in this, that you would say, hey, these are the things that have served me well?
Yeah, it's really just, focus on the leak resistant funnel. Understand your unique patient experience by practice. That's usually a conversation with a couple different people in the practice to understand the patient base and, understand the workflows in the practice, and once you start understanding what that patient journey looks like, then you can start saying like, okay, here's where we might be leaking. We're not going to fix all of them today. We're going to fix 1 and 2. And now we're ready to start adding. And I would also say that the cross-departmental collaboration, don't work in silos as much as you can. Partner with your other support departments, talent acquisition, clinical hygiene, all like that. And that's how you're going to be. And that's how you're going to get the best result is just through continuing.
Well, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been really, really good. And I know it's going to help a lot of people,
Thank
man.
you so much. I appreciate
it.
It.